right back, waiting for David to get on the phone. Alrighty. And we will be on with David here in a moment. David is known for a singular sound, and we're excited to have him on here and talk about his product and a little bit about his notorious earlier life, and we'll get into that. If you would take a moment, put a like and a thumbs up and whatever all that jazz is, and also think about going to gearbyseba.com. But also David, his links for Singular Sound and davidpackouz.com are also in the description. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hey David, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you, Chad?
I am doing good. You know, I meant to get by at NAMM and visit you this year. It was just so crazy and busy, and I know you guys were busy. But wow, just the beginning of the year. This has been a crazy year since literally the end of NAMM. How has that affected this last year, and then now knowing we're not going to be going to NAMM this year? How has that hurt, or what? Is it anything for you?
You mean as far as like going to NAMM?
Yeah, well, the business, has it taken some wind out of the sails?
You mean just the general situation?
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely. Well, first of all, before I get into it, I just want to know: do you hear me okay? Is there like a bad echo? Because I could put on headphones.
No, I hear you just fine. I've got a lot of with the system that I'm using. It's got a lot of noise canceling, so you're good.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I know that your listeners are, I'm sure, audiophiles and very picky about the sound quality. So I figured, I didn't want to bother them with some terrible reverb. No one can stand that. So as far as the current crazy situation in the world, it's definitely given us some challenges. There's no doubt about that, but not nearly as much as we were afraid of. Obviously, I mean, this has destroyed many businesses and, put a lot of people out of work. We are one of the very few, very lucky businesses that so far we've done pretty well throughout the situation. And I think that that's because, I mean, as far as our sales go, I think that's probably because we make gear that really excels for musicians who are playing by themselves. And that is a perfect situation. It's pretty much every musician right now is playing by themselves. Many can't get together with their drummer, and we make the Beat Buddy, which is a good replacement when you don't have a drummer. We make the Eros Looper, and that's great when you don't have other bandmates to jam with. You could create your own layers. So we've been doing pretty well as far as sales go, but it definitely has given us some challenges. A lot of our software team actually caught coronavirus, including myself. Yeah, I got it as well. I recovered a few weeks ago. Around 2 weeks ago is when it was finally done. As you know, we're headquartered in Miami, which is the current epicenter. So it's crazy over here. It's really very intense. So that's put us back a bit on our expected delivery, as far as software updates and things like that, which of course is, terrible. And our customers aren't happy about that, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, you have to keep going and make the best of it. And we're very lucky that we are able to stay in business during these times, because a lot of businesses aren't. So I don't take that for granted at all. Very grateful to our customers who are keeping us going, and and with their patience throughout these situations. So yeah, I mean, as I said, it could have been a lot worse, but it's definitely not all a bed of roses, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I have to understand the shipping, especially if you do worldwide shipping like I do, and I imagine you do as well. It's been horrible just to rely on like postal service. The postal service
Yeah.
is horrible. Even
Yeah.
even in the States, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
do any international,
Oh yeah.
it's a nightmare. I had one package
Yeah.
that took a month to get to
Oh.
Australia,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and it sat in Tokyo for like 2 weeks. And I'm like,
Wow.
why is it even in Tokyo? I don't know, but
Yeah.
so there's lots of these now. So let's go ahead and back up a little bit. So you've been into music your whole early teen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since I was 15 is when I started learning how to play guitar. But I've been singing since I was a kid. My mom is an amazing singer, and she loves doing harmonies. So that was our thing. We'd always sing together. And it's funny because my dad couldn't sing a note to save his life. And so when he put me to bed at night, I would sing him the lullaby.
That's funny.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So now what led up to the was the movie War Dogs? What
Yeah.
what was how true to life was that?
Um, it was mostly true, I would say, with some major changes and some additions of things that never happened, and they left a lot out. But that's any Hollywood movie, as everyone
Well,
knows.
yeah.
It needs to fit the script. It needs to fit the formula for Hollywood movies, and all fit within an hour and a half time frame. So the overall story is true, but it's
There's
it's not a
nuances.
documentary.
Yeah,
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 it's not a documentary,
yeah.
for sure, not a documentary.
So
There was a book written about it,
yeah,
which the movie is based on, and the book is accurate.
yeah.
So if anyone had the patience to read a book these days, they could find out the real story.
So what in your early life? What led up? The way the movie kind of relates it. What led up to, in your own words, that situation got you into that?
Well, I was I was 23 years old. I was in college studying chemistry, and I had a few side hustles. I was a massage therapist. That's actually true. That they put that in the movie. I was also selling bed sheets and linens, as they put in the movie. That's true too, though not in the same way as they show it in the movie. They in the movie they have me going from like home to like from like a elder care facility and trying to pitch it in person. I never actually did that. I was wholesaling it to distributors and to I never actually took possession of any of the actual goods. So
Yeah.
it was a little so things like that. They change it for dramatic effect. And just like in the movie, I bumped into an old friend of mine, and he told me about the business he was in, and he showed me that he was making a huge amount of money, way more money than I was, and I wanted to learn how to make money. I figured I would I would spend like a few years learning how to do that and making a lot of money, and then I'd pursue music. That was the plan. I was like gonna make $10 million and spend 1 million on promoting my music, and that'll make me a rock star. And isn't that every boy's dream, So that was the plan. As you saw in the movie, it didn't go to plan, but but I got a movie out of it, and how cool is that?
Yeah, in fact, there's a comment from Aaron Short Music. He says,
Oh yeah, Aaron.
yeah,
What's up, Aaron?
singing "Don't Fear the Reaper" in the old folks' home was his favorite part. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. That was.
So, what is the takeaway?
Mhm.
What's the one big life lesson that you could pass on to people? Is there something that you learned that is really true to your heart and you?
I learned many things, actually. I wouldn't be able to say just one, but the one of the most important things I learned throughout that entire process was that if you're willing to work really, really, really hard, you can accomplish things that you wouldn't have dreamt possible. And also that most of your competitors in any business are probably not working that hard. And so, then that's why we were so successful. We even though we were just two guys and we were competing against Fortune 500 companies, we beat them even though they had a staff of hundreds because we were obsessed with it and we were willing to work extremely hard. The second thing I would say, which is extremely important lesson that I learned, was that if you don't work with people that you don't want to work with, because if you have a bad feeling about a person, even though you may think that oh, you'll overlook all the bad aspects and it'll just be a temporary thing, it just never ends well. And what they don't show in the movie is I kind of knew what a kind of person my former partner was, and I just told myself, hey, I'll put up with this guy, even though I don't, I didn't really like the way he did business. I didn't like, him personally that much, and I figured, hey, I'll make a bunch of money and then I'm out. But it just never ends well. It just doesn't. So you have to work with people that you enjoy working with. Even if the opportunities seem to be smaller in the short term, you're just going to enjoy your life a lot more, and that's more important.
I think that's a good lesson to learn. That's a good.
Yeah.
It's a good takeaway. I've been running my own. I'm 50, 52. I've been running my own business since I was 16.
Mhm.
I've worked hard. I pretty much for my whole life have worked 7 days a week.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
I built several businesses and
Mhm.
had a computer repair business that I still actually have clients.
Mhm.
But one thing I learned is you have to trust your gut, and sometimes you can have
That's true.
a job or an assignment that you go, this could be really, really lucrative. However,
Mhm.
however, I get this feeling that this is not going to work out well. And every time that I've gone against that gut, I've paid. And we came up with a phrase: "No good deed goes unpunished." So it happens.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
so now you're through that. and then
Yeah.
how did it end?
So, how did it end? Well, it ended. Well, I mean, I guess it depends what you mean by end. My direct involvement with with my partner and his company, and that we won all these contracts through, and the big contract that they show in the movie, ended when he decided he didn't want to pay me, and he was like, you know what, I'm just not going to pay you. And I was like, well, in that case, I'm leaving, and I'll see you in court. So I walked away from that. Around like 8 months after that, there was a article in the New York Times that it was like this big expose of our business, and they had my mugshot and his mugshot on the front page of the New York Times. And it became like, and we were really young, and we had this $300 million contract, and we were in charge of supplying the entire Afghan National Army and Police with munitions. So, the war on terror, kind of depended on a couple of 20-something-year-olds. So, and we got the nickname in the media of the stoner arms dealers, because I think there was some police report that mentioned that, like, we were caught with some weed years before. So, they're saying we're the stoner arms dealers, and the government is really incompetent for giving us this huge contract. And up until that point, we were, delivering as the U.S. Army wanted. After that, the U.S. Army was like, oh, we had no idea what was going on here, and we're going to take this contract away. And they charged us with fraud, that we lied to them about the source of the ammunition, that it was Chinese. It's a long story, I'm sure. If your viewers haven't seen it, it's a good movie. And so then they charged us with fraud, and that whole thing took around 3 years to work out, the whole legal aspect of it. And afterwards, I was sentenced to 7 months of house arrest because I pled guilty and said I was very sorry, never do anything like that again, etc. And so while I was under house arrest for 7 months, I guess that's nothing these days. Everyone's under house arrest, right? But
That's 2020 for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. That's everyone's 2020. But I was under house arrest in 2011.
Yeah.
And while I was under house arrest, I couldn't, play with any of my musician friends. So I bought a drum machine to play to, and I realized that, because a drum machine is a tabletop thing. I realized every time I wanted to change the beat, I'd have to stop playing my guitar and press the button on the drum machine, and then go back to playing my guitar, and it interrupted the rhythm. So I had an idea. I'm like, I need a drum machine that's like in a guitar pedal, where I could control what the beat does by pressing the pedal. And I went online to look for it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I asked my musician friends if they'd seen anything like it, but none of them had, and they all wanted one too. So I thought that if no one's making this, no one had even patented the idea, which I couldn't believe. And I was going to make it. And even though I didn't know how to make electronic products, arms dealing and the other businesses I was in was pretty much just buying from one person and selling to another. It wasn't creating anything new, which was a whole other challenge, of course. But I started Googling and talking to people and figuring out how the whole thing worked. And it took me 3 years, but eventually I built a Beat Buddy prototype that we launched a Kickstarter campaign for, a crowdfunding campaign. And it raised $350,000 in a month, which was enough to pay for the engineering and the manufacturing. And that's how I started my company, Singular Sound. Yeah. So that was 2014 when we launched the Beat Buddy. And since then, we've launched several other products, including the Aero Slooper and the MIDI Maestro, the Beat Buddy Mini, which is the less expensive version of the Beat Buddy. So that's where we're at today.
Now, when you first started the Beat Buddy, you went through, it's obviously not the same as when it started, and that's the iteration of almost all hardware, software related things is they start one way and you build into it, and you right now, I would say the Beat Buddy is rock solid. But it took several years, and you had a lot of probably
Hmm.
early on. You had a lot of people who were like, "Hey, when's it gonna do this and when's it gonna do that?" But
Right, right,
you eventually got there. So this is
right.
so with in all fairness, um,
Sure.
I was super happy with the Beat Buddy, super happy with the Cably,
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
wanted to love the Aeros Looper
Hmm.
and the MIDI Maestro.
Yeah.
And I
I
just
know where this is going.
yeah.
Go ahead. Lay it out on the line, Chad. Go for it. It's all right.
And I was
I've heard it all
so
before from every other customer.
right, and
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was so disappointed. I was so
Okay.
disappointed it wasn't where I needed it to be. And
Okay.
I actually I do believe
Yeah.
it will get there, just like the Beat
Hmm.
Buddy. I think the Beat Buddy is
Sure.
pretty much perfect.
Hmm.
Now this is what everybody wants to know, and everybody's willing. I think people are willing
Hmm.
to jump in and work
Hmm.
through this. I know a lot like Jared Smythe.
Yeah.
You know,
He's
he's
fantastic.
he
I love Jared.
yeah, he's great. And and I made a set of skins and screen guards
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for it, and so
Yeah.
we'll have that on the website later because I'm
Look amazing. Yeah.
stupidly busy
Yeah.
and backed up. But
Hmm.
um, when is it going to be rock solid like the
So
Beat
I
Buddy?
guess the question I have for you is, what are the parts that bother you? And then I could give you a more accurate estimation of what's because rock solid is a very overall term. Some people have issues with certain bugs. Some people have issues that because certain features are missing. So I guess the question is, what are you talking
I
about?
think the Eros
Hmm.
Loopers was almost there.
Yeah.
It was almost there,
Hmm.
but you couldn't save to the SD card back then.
Oh,
Uh,
you could now.
you can now. That's good. That's good to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So, what
Yeah.
else did you fix in that time period?
So which time period are you talking about?
From when the when you couldn't save to the SD card till now.
Okay,
What else
okay.
did
So
you
then
fix?
you're talking about firmware version 3.0. Firmware version 3.0 on the Aeros is has been out for about 3 months now. So since May, and that fixed the issues with saving to the SD card. So you could export your files to the SD card now and put them in your DAW. That fixed a lot of stability issues. So now it doesn't crash anymore, as you could ask Jared Smythe. He uses it as his go-to looper, and he says that it's the one of the most rock solid loopers as far as stability goes of the loopers that he's used. So we fix it. That's obviously the number one thing. The upcoming firmware that we're about to release, hopefully this week. I'm hoping. Of course, I've said that for the last several weeks, which is always frustrating. But the
Hey, listen
upcoming,
on that.
yeah,
I totally understand
yeah,
because listen, I promised stuff for July 15th, and we had all
uh-huh.
sorts of issues getting these things out, and I finally caught up by August 15th
Mhm.
with those orders. So listen, I'll be the first to understand delays happen, but no, go back to what you're.
Um, so yeah, so the one that's upcoming is gonna have the so we've actually had a beta out for about 2 months on the forum. And that beta is what Jared Smythe is using in his videos, where he's using the MIDI Maestro and the Aeros, because the firmware version 3.0 that we released 3 months ago doesn't have the MIDI compatibility, very embarrassingly enough, to work with our other product, the MIDI Maestro. The beta does, and that part is rock solid. The only reason we haven't released it for the last 2 months is because there were some places where the Aeros is having these audio pops, where like you have like a transition from like one song part to another, and you've got like 6 different tracks, and they're moving to 6 other tracks, and we have to do a crossfade between all those different tracks. So you could have up to 6 tracks on the Aeros, and you could have an additional overdub on each track. I mean, you could have unlimited overdubs, but it's one layer. So that's really 12 tracks, plus they're both stereo. So that's 24 tracks of 24-bit sound that the Eros has to process and do a crossfade on when you're moving from one song part to the other song part. So that's a huge amount of processing that has to be done. And we are working out with many creative ways of making the Eros be able to do that. Because if you think about it, most people are doing stuff on their DAW on their like $1,000, $2,000 computer, right? And that's a computer. It's not built to be stepped on. Doesn't have all these input and output ports that we have on the Eros. So the Eros is a $600 device, but the processing power it has is a lot less than your laptop. So we have to, from a software perspective, in order for us to be able to keep it a $600 product. And people complain about the $600 price tag, but they're expecting it to do something that a $2,000 computer does. So we have to be very creative in how we do the software in order to accomplish all of these things. And that is why it's a big challenge, and it's been a lot more difficult than we thought it was going to be. And we've had two of our team members catch COVID at different times, which interrupts the whole, because they work together. So so that's been another issue. So that's why we haven't released the new version for the last 2 months, because we've been chasing down these bugs. But we think we're like at the 98% mark, and I'm really hoping that we can release a new one this week. And then once this is released, we're going to have the MIDI rock solid. It's going to work with the MIDI Maestro. We're going to have no audio artifacts anywhere. It's going to be crystal clear in all situations, like when you're doing transitions and stops and overdubs and all these different audio situations that you're doing. And and we've done like a few small tweaks to like the UX to like make it more enjoyable to work with. Like, for example, we added like a sort song name by alphabetical versus the last time you used it. So some people ask that, so we have a very active forum on our site, and the Eros users and the BeatBuddy users, they always post feature requests of what they want to make it better. And we read every single post, and we pay a lot of attention to that, because we know that if you're taking your time and you're going to put the effort into posting on our forum, it's because you really care about our products. And to keeping the people who care about our products happy is how a company stays in business. Right. So we take it very seriously, and that was one of the requests that we had, was to be able to sort the song list. And so we added that in. We were able to get that in along with the next release. So we're hoping that that's going to be this coming release. After that release, which we're hoping is in this week, fingers crossed, toes crossed too, but you can't see them. After this upcoming release, the next thing we're going to do, which we're planning on starting to do much shorter releases. We don't want to wait months between releases. We want to do a release every 2 weeks. That's our goal, is every 1 week, ideally, even if it's something small, but probably every 2 weeks is what we're aiming for, where we do a release every 2 weeks, and we have like one more feature every 2 weeks. So the next feature that we want to do is that we've actually already completed a lot of the work on, we just need to finish it, is a feature called locked tracks. And that feature is where, with the Eros, you have up to 6 parallel tracks, but you also have 6 sequential song parts, each with up to 6 parallel tracks. Now, what a lot of people like to do is they like to lay down the rhythm track in the beginning. Like, let's say if you're creating your own beats when you're looping, they like to lay down, like Ed Sheeran does this. He'll lay down like the rhythm track, and then and that track will be going the whole song, because it's like the basic rhythm. And then he'll add additional stuff to it, and he'll change between those things. So what we're adding in the next release after this upcoming one is the ability to lock a track. So when you change song parts, that lock track continues into the next song part. So you can keep that 1 track or 2 tracks or whatever amount of tracks you want to lock.
So they just stay through.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. That
and
sounds really good.
It opens up a lot more possibilities from a looping perspective of what you can do. with the Arrow. So we're really excited about that.
Okay, so those are the things that I had an issue with, and
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like you've got them addressed. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
onto the MIDI Maestro, and I
Yes.
love the idea with the scribble strips because I'm a Helix
Yeah.
user, and
Sure.
hey, there that's fantastic. And I've got, right down here, I've got the
Mm-hmm.
one of the MIDI units. I honestly I've lost the name. It's not in my head. It's
Mm-hmm.
big and it's programmable, but it's not what I thought it was. It doesn't have scribble
Right.
strips. Z starts with a Z. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
Nectar doesn't. Yeah, it starts with a
Oh, okay.
Nectar
I haven't heard
Pacer.
that.
Nectar
Yeah.
Pacer. And anyway,
Yeah.
it's adequate. It works, but it's not the scribble strips like what you've got there. And
Mm-hmm.
then I've got the MC8, which is fantastic, and I've had the
Mm-hmm.
MC6, and those guys, they Morningstar, they do a nice job, but again,
Yeah.
it's still not quite like a singular scribble strip on underneath
Yeah.
yours.
Well, thank you.
But my issue was one it was more of a sales thing
Mm-hmm.
because I specifically asked before I
Mm-hmm.
bought it, and I was really disappointed because it didn't have
Mm-hmm.
any Helix information embedded
Right.
in it,
Right.
and
Right.
I was very frustrated because I was like,
Yeah.
well, how? So then I literally had to go out and buy an Android to get on the
Mm-hmm.
beta,
Right.
and then it was a
Right.
big pain. It was horrible. It was a disaster.
Sure. Yeah, I understand.
Has it been fixed yet?
So the it's definitely gotten a lot better. Um, you are right that the app for the MIDI Maestro has been the bane of our existence, I would say, for the last year, even longer. But I think that we really see the light at the end of the tunnel with it now. The Android app has gotten way better. It's a lot more stable. It's a lot more easier to use. In the next week or two, we are releasing more usability updates. So, for example, you're going to be able to. Well, first I'll start off by saying the MIDI Maestro, as far as the default modes, what comes built in, that works, right? If you're buying the MIDI Maestro just to use with
Right.
your Beat Buddy and give it a lot more capabilities, that's worth every penny,
Right.
and you'll get a huge amount of use out of it. And the same thing with the Aeros now that we're releasing this new firmware, or if you've been using the beta for the last 2 months, as you see from Jared Smite's videos, he got it working for him beautifully. And so that works. The Android app has been a challenge, like I guess all software is. Software is just it's rough, I mean, they say hardware is hard, and it is, but software never ends, unfortunately, because even when you're like done with software, you think you're done, then they change the platform underneath you, and then it breaks things, and you have to fix it, and it's just like a never-ending nightmare. But I do appreciate the incredible power that comes with software, and that's why we take on these challenges. So as far as to answer your question, the Android app has gotten way better. In the next week or two, we expect it to get even better as far as from just a usability standpoint, and we're hoping that it will be where we imagined it would be all along, within a month to a month and a half. That's the goal. Within a month to a month and a half is where we really want it to be, like where it's like, what, this is everything that we were expecting from the app. As far as the iOS version, that's been an even bigger nightmare than the Android version, but we are in the final stages of having a beta out. So I know that's not what all the iOS guys want to hear. They want a finished product, a finished app that works perfectly and all that. Unfortunately, we had to go through two different iOS developers, and they both quit. One was COVID related, another one, just got a better paying job somewhere, which we couldn't afford to match. So, it's these things happen, unfortunately. But we have a guy on it now who's rock solid, and he's in the final stages of completing what we hope is a pretty good beta, and then it's going to continue improving from there. So to sum it all up, I would say that the Android app is around 80% done. The iOS app is about to begin being, done. I don't know how to put that. It's like it's about to see the light of day, I should say, and then we'll find out how much work we have left to go on it.
Because I couldn't stand
which hopefully is not too much.
I couldn't stand Android, so because I'm an iOS guy, so
I understand.
And I was like, but okay, so listen, redemption and those things that listen, that's this what life's about.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that we could have a time to talk about that. Anything in the future? I mean, I like the Cably. I got the Cably. Where it's around here somewhere. It's down here. It's so packed up tight I can't even see it.
Yeah.
But really like the Cably.
The Cably for your viewers.
There you go. That's it. Yeah. So that's pretty slick.
Winds your cables for you.
Yeah.
Keeps your cables nice and neat and protected, and then you just wind it up.
So
bam.
So
Cably.
anything else in the future? You got.
Yeah, we are starting to think about Beat Buddy 2 and what that's going to look like. Some sort of successor to the Beat Buddy. We're not sure if it's going to replace the Beat Buddy or just be like a Beat Buddy Pro kind of thing. It's still in the early stages of the design process, so nothing's really rock solid. Definitely nothing before the end of the year. But one thing that we are coming out with soon, and this is again goes back to our challenges with software, is the autopilot feature for the Beat Buddy, and I'm really excited about that. So with the autopilot feature, are you familiar with this?
No, go ahead.
So the autopilot feature, the idea is that we have a pretty extensive premium beat library for the Beat Buddy. So you can buy collections of songs, which is the beats for the songs for like many famous songs, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, all these different famous artists.
It's tremendous.
Yeah. So you can buy the exact beats the way they played it. And from our library. The issue is, in order to get the authenticity to be exactly the way they played it, we had to split the beats up into like all these different song parts, which means that you have to know the beat really well in order to do the transition from one to another. And a lot of guitarists just don't know that, and I don't know it. I mean, I'm a guitarist. I'm not a drummer. And that's why I built the Beat Buddy in the first place, because I'm not a drummer. So it's a challenge for the people who don't know the beats of the songs very well, to be able to know when to change the drums from one to the others. Now, you could make just one long MIDI file, which just plays the song all the way through. But the disadvantage of it, then you have a backing track. Then you might as well just, play something on your iPhone, which is just the backing track. The problem with backing tracks, of course, is that you have no flexibility to jam out, to extend the solo section, to shorten a section, to have like a live experience rather than playing to canned music. Rather than to being like guitar karaoke, so to speak, right. Which is one of the things that people really love about the Beat Buddies, that you could interact with it. You could tap the pedal to throw in a drum fill. You could do accent hits. You could do a pause for a drum break, stuff like that. You could really interact with the Beat Buddy. It's almost like a little instrument. So the new feature that we're coming out with, called Autopilot, and it's going to be a free update for all Beat Buddy users, the autopilot is going to automatically change the beat from one song part to another as you're going through the song. So that means that you don't have to know the song perfectly in order to change the beat at the right time. It does it for you, but it also keeps that interactive element. So you could interrupt the autopilot and throw in a drum fill, and that'll extend that section. It'll start that section from the beginning. So you're able to, let's say if you're in a solo and you want to do the solo for twice as long, you could just throw in a drum fill and it'll start that from the beginning, and then you could, wail away for even longer. Or if you want to shorten, let's say, you're not feeling that solo, you want to shorten it, you could just interrupt the autopilot and do a transition on the Beat Buddy by holding down the pedal, and it'll skip that section and it'll move you to the next section automatically. So, manually, I should say. So you're able to have that interactivity between the Beat Buddy, like a regular Beat Buddy song, but you'll also have that automatic going from one section to the next, like a backing track. So it's the best of both worlds. So we're hoping that that's going to come out in the next month or so. It's been we've been working on it for a long time, and with that, we're going to release an updated Beat Buddy Manager software, which is also something a lot of our customers are waiting for. So we're going to release those two things.
Very nice. Hey, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Tone King. Yeah. We got Tone King.
Oh, what's up, Lewis?
So, excellent. So, hey, Tone King, I want to get you on the show, Tone King. Yeah, he'll come on.
I'm a fan of Lewis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Me too.
Of the King.
Tone
Got to
King.
start you off with one of these.
So, well, that's excellent, and I'm glad to get to know you a little bit more, and I'm really thankful that we could, get to the bottom. Let's see. Thanks for the shout out. Two wonderful guys. What more can you ask for? He's such a gentleman.
You're so sweet, Lewis.
So, so now the future. There'll be no NAMM. There'll be no NAMM this year. You got anything to do in place of? Is there something you're thinking about? I know that I've been talking with the Line 6 folks, and they may do something. I don't know. Going to do some virtual things, or any ideas?
So we haven't, they officially canceled NAMM somewhat recently. Yeah. But I mean, I can't say that we weren't expecting it. I think everyone was expecting it, because I mean, it was just wishful thinking to think that it was going to happen.
Listen. One.
Yeah.
Many people weren't going to go there. It's very short planning, and nobody wants to get sick, and the things will be. It would be a waste of money if they did hold it. And
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I think they realized that. So it was the responsible thing to do for them to cancel it. I think we're going to focus on is what we've been doing. What we've always done really is try to come out with compelling online content of like good musicians playing with our products, and occasionally doing live demos and Q&A sessions and things like that, and to interact with our customers as much as possible, because that's the one. To be honest, my favorite thing about NAMM, when it happens, is meeting a lot of our customers face to face, and them telling me what their issues are and what they wish our products did, and all those things. I learn a lot every NAMM, and I think that's what I'm going to miss the most, is actually meeting our customers. So in order to replace that, I mean, we have a very active forum. But we're not going to have like a big event like NAMM, but we try to engage people as much as possible on our forum, and to listen to everyone's comments and suggestions, and to hold interactive Q&A sessions like this, where people could air their grievances, as you have done, and get some more information and insight and transparency from us, because I think once people understand what's going on, I think it's a mistake that most companies ignore their customers to a large extent. I think especially in this industry, there isn't that much of a transparency from companies telling you what they're planning and where they're at and why things have happened. And I personally think it's a mistake. I think they try to hide behind it because, I don't know, I guess just to be safe, to cover their butts. But I think that customers really appreciate getting the insight into how their gear is made and where it's going to be going and what the challenges are and all those things. So we try to be as upfront with everybody as we can. And I think that that's probably the best way to market ourselves, really, because it's people when people complain and they see that their complaints are addressed, and it may not be in as quickly as they want, but eventually it does get fixed, then you earn a huge amount of trust, and those people tell their friends. And there's nothing more powerful from a marketing perspective than word of mouth, because people trust their friends. They don't trust ads. So I could spend $1 million on an ad at the Super Bowl, but it won't be as effective as, everyone telling their friends, man, you got to check this out. I love this thing. This is the best. And, and I love the company that makes it. There's nothing more powerful than that. So, NAMM for me is interacting with our customers, learning from them. It's also a way to create content for marketing, but I think that just a little bit more work engaging with customers is a much better use of marketing efforts than that. And of course, the one last thing that NAMM is very useful is to meet all of our distributors and our partners from around the world, which is always awesome to see them. But of course, we'll have to make do with video conferencing. So it won't be the same, but it's better than getting sick. So there you have it. That's the world we live in, and you have to make the best of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've been to NAMM like the last 4 years, and the one thing that is truly the best thing is, hey, Tone King says, "Looking good, buddy." Hey, thanks.
He's talking about you.
Yeah. Well, he's a good liar.
Yeah. He's the sweetest guy ever.
No, he's great. But when you get to meet people that you've dealt with online, and it's tremendous. It's tremendous.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's going to be one thing I miss. I definitely won't miss the plane flight, the tiny toilet on the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No, NAMM is especially when you're an exhibitor, like we exhibit every year except for this coming year, but we've exhibited. I think our first NAMM show was in 2014, and our last one was in 2020. So we've done 7 NAMM shows, 7 winter NAMM shows.
Yeah.
We've done a few NAMMs as well, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You have to set up the booth, and then the show itself. You're on your feet for 8 hours a day. You're talking at the top of your lungs because it's so noisy. People lean in really close so you could hear them, and so they could hear you, and then they spit all over your face when you're talking. That's just the show. That's there's definitely a lot of things I won't miss about NAMM. But that's kind of the whole thing.
That is funny. Yeah. Well, that's I think why NAMMthrax is such a
exactly.
Such a thing.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it doesn't. I think it would be, if they actually had NAMM this year, it would cause a huge outbreak worldwide if people actually attended.
Yeah.
Unless they already had the vaccine, which I don't think they will at this point. So. Yeah, I mean, it would be a disaster. It would be
not one that I feel like taking that quick.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't trust the Russians just yet.
So, let's see, got around. Oh, hey, see you later, Tone King. Well, we like to keep these under an hour. I have a giveaway, and I have a giveaway that I got 4 people who entered. So, awesome. David, basically, I'm going to give away one of my skins for a stomp. I do a custom. It's a custom skin. So, David, choose one between 1 and 4.
Okay. Any?
1 to 4.
1 to 4.
Yep.
So, Everyone chooses 3 because that's like just a natural number to choose. But just to be different, I'm gonna choose 2.
All right, Doug. Doug Anderson. Doug Anderson. He
Doug
wins.
Anderson,
He wins this again.
congratulations, Doug.
Just.
You're number 2, and by that, you're number 1.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I will stay on. I'm gonna thank everybody. I'm gonna end the show, and we'll talk out right afterwards. So,
Okay, sounds good.
all righty.
Thank you.
Okay, well that was David. We're so glad that you could all be here. I thank you for being here. I don't know who's going to be on next week. We're still working it out. But remember, Gear by Seba, and then thank you. See you later.